Hi there, this is Alfie Whattam. I'm a technology recruiter in London, and this is a mini podcast interview conversation with Craig, who's a very experienced CIO and CTO. And we're going to talk today about a couple of things to help people that are new to technology as a career and a few other areas as well. Thanks for joining us, Craig.
Thanks, Alfie. Thanks very much. Appreciate the invitation.
Cool. So just for the people that are listening, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and give us a bit of a biography?
Yeah, of course. So as you gathered, name's Craig Bell. I'm currently the CTO of the Cordon Group. The Cordon Group is a privately held UK recruitment company. We specialize in all areas of recruitment, from security, cleaning, education, medical, all the way through to IT recruitment and all the kind of verticals in between. Turns over £950 million a year, so good size entity. And my role there has been to literally trash everything that was there previously, rip it up, rip all the rule books up, throw it out, and complete a full digital transformation. That's been everything from infrastructure, operations, AWS, sort of physical to virtual into AWS. And then the last 2-3 years, more around software development, agile software delivery, and I've built out 3 individual teams of developers. So that's the kind of latest thing that I've been working on. Always been sort of technical, got a real passion for IT, and that probably comes across with some of the things we're going to cover on today.
Brilliant. All right. Could you just tell us a little bit more then about that role and what you've been doing? I know you just gave us a bit of an overview, but could you delve into that a little bit more and just sort of give people an overview of maybe the projects and that kind of thing?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so when I joined Cordon 5 years ago, it was what I call a typical UK PLC. So it was a typical company that's grown through M&A. They've got lots of different legal entities, different headquarters for various brands around the UK, and no real cohesion or strategy. I liken it to siloed IT functions, IT managers, almost that superhero culture where IT people wearing pants on the outside, right, running around putting out fires, and no real knowledge sharing. Very sort of protect kind of mentality almost. So joining there, it was really ripping out all that stuff, as I alluded to. First big project was removing Microsoft. So the reason I joined Cordon, all the other previous roles I've had an element of Microsoft. I used to be sort of certified with MCSE and all that kind of good stuff. This was a G Suite opportunity, and that really appealed to me. So taking out Microsoft, replacing it with Google G Suite, and then one step further, removing all the Windows and Mac devices and replacing them with Chromebooks and Chrome OS. At the particular point of time, it was the largest Chrome OS deployment in the UK. Somewhere around 1,500 devices. And that was really fascinating because to take off those Windows devices that people are always coming to you with headaches and you need re-imaging and the blue screen of death, all those kind of good things that people, almost expect with a Windows device. So give them a Chrome OS and switch it on. 7 seconds later, they have a login screen and they're good to go. So that was the first big project. In parallel to that, it was just taking all the infrastructure, ripping it out. So typically big companies like that would use MPLS networks. They're costly, they're very, it's a closed network, ripped all that out, replaced it with Cisco Meraki, so hosted cloud firewalls and wireless, off direct internet access. So, chipping away at all these expensive technologies with DIA, so we could use cheap FTTC circuits from BT, for example, just really bringing those costs back, right? And then layering up. So the way I see that is put in the infrastructure, layering on top. We then added BT CloudWorks, which is a white labeled version of RingCentral. So it's hosted telephony. So we layered that on top. Then AWS, as I mentioned at the beginning, we took all the physical things that were dotted around the UK that we hadn't removed with the Google G Suite migration, and starting that P2V, that physical to virtual migration into AWS. Right. So that was the first 2.5-3 years. Restructured the team, refocused the team, got sort of coaching, mentoring, got the skills where they needed to be. And then say more recently, inherited the position of CTO. So when I first joined, I was in IT service delivery director, so everything other than software. And then an opportunity came up to move into the CTO role. And that was fascinating because it's an area that I've conscious that I've never had exposure to. I've done apps, I've done infrastructure operations, ITIL, all that good stuff, project management, whatever it might be. But I lacked that. It's like three-legged stool. I see it as being you've got your infrastructure, operations, and development. And I fancied a crack at the development piece. And that's been great. We've focused on a serverless framework from AWS. So, rather than that physical to virtual, which we started out doing, it's basically, the same mess in AWS, right? P2V, it's the same stuff. But then this software development that I've worked on the last 2 years is around getting rid of those physical virtual servers in AWS and rewriting the code with a serverless framework. And that's using Lambda. Lambda it's cost effective, it's cheap, it's easy to code in, and we have a nice serverless full stack that the development team are working on. At the same time, the last kind of major project worth sort of calling out was Bullhorn. So Bullhorn is a recruitment-specific CRM. You've probably used it or heard of it. So we signed with Bullhorn 18 months, 2 years ago, and that was based on a 650 recruitment consultant migration. Again, it's all about consolidating and getting data in one single source of the truth. Getting rid of all these legacy CRM solutions that we've acquired through acquisition of entities. So that's been quite successful as well.
Brilliant. It's interesting to hear that you're using Chromebooks in a commercial setting, but look, if you're using web-based stuff like Bullhorn, it's doable. I mean, it's faster, less technical problems to worry about.
It's actually what I'm using here at home as well. So that's all I have. Yeah,
I've got a Windows device for a few other reasons, but I also have. I do prefer it from a day-to-day perspective.
It's quite compelling.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned earlier moving into the CTO role. What was that transition like, out of interest? And do you have any tips for people that are going on a similar journey themselves?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think the thing that was important to me was I can't code, right? I've never had any pretense to suggest that I can code. I've been doing home automation stuff recently at home just through lockdown sort of craziness, along with haircuts. It's just to be yourself, right? I didn't pretend that I could code, but I'm educated enough and I'm interested in technology enough that I can learn AWS. I've enrolled on a few of the training courses leading towards the certification around AWS. Never really got as far as taking the exams, but I know if kind of push came to shove, I could. So it's being like well-read and having that big picture, I think, and understanding that you don't need to know JavaScript to know that, your Lambda call will be written in JavaScript, or Node.js, which will go back to your backend database, which could be, we use PostgreSQL or whatever it might be, right? And it's just being fanatical about IT, I think. And when I was contemplating we were going to speak, I was thinking, what would you do to somebody looking in that position, or somebody who's looking to move or further their career? And I think for me, I'm in IT because I want to be in IT versus it's a profession. And I think that's what I always look for in my team as well. When I'm hiring, I always look to hire smart people, ideally smarter than I am, but also just somebody who's got that passion, that kind of nerdiness, that somebody who's, IT generally are quite a weird bunch of people. So you can pretty much spot them.
Brilliant. It's what you said a second ago is what Steve Jobs also said in terms of never being the smartest person in the room, always surrounding yourself with people that are smarter as a recipe for success. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously we're filming this, Craig, during lockdown. What's your lockdown experience been like?
It's been pretty tragic. It's not been great, actually. I guess initially, I speak to loads of people, right, and it's no worse or better than everybody else's, right? I think the first couple of weeks, it was all quite exciting. I genuinely joked that I thought the children were on half term because, working in IT, I've had a home office for years, and I just assumed, first couple of weeks, this is fine. I'm at home. I'm just doing my job. I would typically spend 2 to 3 days a week from home anyway. But yeah, as times ticked on away 100 days plus or something like that, it's not great, is it? I think from a mental well-being, we've got it's a tight family. We've got friends and family around. So I think from a mental well-being, we're fine. I'm good. But I think from an economy perspective, from a careers, generally outside of my own world, it's challenging times. Right? It's very bizarre. Very bizarre.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But obviously, with us all returning, next week potentially, or large amounts of people doing so, hopefully things are only going to get better from here.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Great. So a lot of people that watch these videos, Craig, are quite new to technology. They're recent graduates and they're just getting into the industry. Obviously,
Uh-huh.
you're a veteran. You've been in this for a long time. Have you got any advice for those people when they're just starting their IT careers?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we said earlier at the beginning around just being passionate around what you do, right? If you're not excited about technology and you're just looking at it as a salary, then maybe you really need to look deep inside yourself as to whether is that something you really want to do. Right? I think the best people I've met are people who just get technology. They're enthusiastic about going to work. Maybe not the particular company that they work for, and they'll then look to move on. But technology as a whole, I think again, it's taking your learning beyond university, beyond prescribed learning at work. It's, I don't know, having a play in AWS, setting up a free account, right? I mean, you get lots of credits. You can make fairly unlimited Lambda calls. The first year of the T3 micro free or whatever it might be. So just get in there and start playing, right? There's no real bad ideas. And try, one of the things we talk about at work is just try to fail and fail fast, try and learn from it. That's it. Just be passionate around what you do. And if you're not, then as I say, maybe technology isn't for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd second that. Passion is absolutely essential.
Yeah.
So in terms of what you're passionate about, Craig, are
Mm-hmm.
there any futuristic or cutting edge technologies? Which obviously you mentioned AWS on the cloud side, but is there anything
Yeah.
else in particular that you're super passionate about at the moment and that you're quite interested in for the future?
Yeah, I think it's a bit cliched maybe, but 5G and IoT. I think they're fascinating. I think 5G is going to be revolutionary. I think once it rolls out across the UK, the speeds that we're going to get, the potential there is huge. What will the LAN infrastructure look like in 3-4 years from now? I can't imagine we'll be buying circuits into buildings. I imagine everything will be 5G. That opens up a whole new world for digital delivery of content. When you're on the move, I can just see the world being an even more connected place. I take Zoom calls when I'm on the, walking around now, and they're a bit choppy, and you might be all right. But the thought of being able to, pretty much film in 4K on your mobile phone, live streaming over 5G is fascinating. And I think the IoT piece, almost at the other end of the spectrum, because the data requirements for IoT are much slimmer. Generally, they're just, ones and zeros and a few, bits of packets of data. But I think IoT as well, and that's something I've just thought about more in lockdown, as I kind of alluded to, playing around the house. There's quite a few LinkedIn videos doing various stuff, and I think IoT is fascinating. It's all connected. I think that's just going to be an emerging market even more. I know it is already. I just see that, and then just stupid things like cars being connected. Everything in the house can be connected, and probably the last piece to all of this is security. Right? I think if I was starting my career all over again, I would so go into a CISO kind of function. That would be my top tip. I think security can be everywhere, and it's quite a fun area of IT as well. Right? I think it's a bit more,
Yes.
maybe even a bit more nerdy than sort of CTO, CIO. I would so go back to be a CISO or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a really emerging area. We at Hayes, we did a report recently on that area, and we found that just 3 years ago, the job title Chief Information Security Officer was basically non-existent, but now 70% of organisations over, I think it's over 100 staff, either have one or are planning to have one in the next 12 months. So it's growing at exponential rates.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that's worth keeping in mind.
even things like ethical hacking or pen testing, or that would be fascinating as well. I've always kind of, always sort of kept maintaining, a hobbyist interest in things like that. I think that's a fascinating area of IT as well.
Wicked. Well, thanks for having this, quick chat, Craig. Just wanted to get sort of your insights, your opinions, and your ideas for people that follow this mini podcast series. If people have got any questions, I'll tag you on LinkedIn. Are you okay for them to reach out to you and get in touch?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. Yeah, not a problem at all.
All right, well, feel free to get in touch with Greg, and for more videos like this, please click follow on LinkedIn. Obviously, please like, comment, and share them and whatnot to help with the algorithm. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Thanks, Alfie. Thanks.